All right, I think we can probably go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone, and thank you so much for joining today's EnergyTech University Prize informational webinar with focus on the 2024 faculty track. Before we get started, I'm just going to go over a few quick housekeeping items. I'm sure you're all very familiar with Zoom at this point, but you do have two options for connecting to audio today. You can change those by navigating to the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, finding your audio button and changing between your phone or your computer. This is also a reminder to our panelists to please stay muted when not presenting. If at any point you have a question throughout the webinar, feel free to put that in the Q&A box. We'll be monitoring both the Q&A and the chat, but just to make sure we don't lose anything, please try to put all your questions in that Q&A box. We'll get to all questions at the end of today's presentation. And of course, if you're having any difficulties or have to drop early, we will be making a recording of the webinar as well as the slide deck available within the next day or so. At today's webinar, we're going to run through a brief introduction to the program and hear from an alumni of the program. We're going to really dive into the faculty track, but we will still talk about the student perspective as well. A few quick highlights of the 2023 competition, how to spread the word about the competition to other competitors, and then we'll leave time for questions at the end. So with that, I'm going to hand things over to Joe Simon, who leads the EnergyTech University Prize out of NREL. And Joe, you're muted.
Thanks.
There we go.
Thanks so much, Jackie. And it's great to have so many of you on the call today. We're really excited about our 2024 program. And we're here from the National Renewable Energy Laboratory supporting the U.S. Department of Energy, which they will sometimes say is the U.S. Department of everything, that energy really connects to everything that we do and that innovation is needed in that space. So whether that's generating electricity or energy in new ways, whether that's introducing new creativity around the time and place that that energy is available, thinking about the transportation and logistics of all of these different elements, thinking about the financing, the material science, cybersecurity, or different elements associated with energy. This competition is challenging all of our students and faculty to think creatively about how to integrate this innovation into the marketplace and into the economy of the US. And so at its highest level, just to touch on this that you might already know, EnergyTech University Prize is tasking student teams to craft and present a business plan leveraging national laboratory developed or other high potential energy technologies. These could be technologies that they developed at their own institution by themselves. It could be technologies developed by others at their institution for which they're now presenting a business plan, or it could be technologies such as those developed at national labs for which they have a creative idea about how that technology could be integrated into a successful business. This really is a business plan distinct from a startup competition where it's about the work that the students do in this competition that will be judged and evaluated. So all their ideas matter, their work matters, and how they present that business plan is going to be how those winners are chosen. And new this year that we're very excited about, we are adding a track that really incentivizes faculty to engage in this space as well. And so in our faculty track, we are tasking faculty to incorporate or expand energy technology commercialization and entrepreneurship topics into their institution's educational activities. There's a wide range of what we think might be possible, and you might have ideas that we have not yet considered. We hope to provide some incentivization as well as some resources and support to help increase the impact that you have on the economy, on your students, and in this area by changing things up or basically being a little bit more motivated to do what you're already doing in a greater way or in a new way that might not already have been considered. We'll talk more about the details of these sessions in the time during this webinar. So the reason that we're funded to do this, the reason that the Office of Technology Transitions has chosen to create the EnergyTech University Prize is to help increase the ecosystem, to help increase the tent of those who are interested in participating in this program. And so those students in those schools that don't have a long established relationship with the Department of Energy, national labs, and industry are welcome to participate. We want to build engagement. We want to build relationships, connections, community, and opportunities across the entire United States. We want to share those ideas. We want to do this in a public and transparent way where others can be inspired by the possibilities for these energy technologies. So for example, if students try to present a business plan for a national lab technology, those inventors of that technology at the national lab might learn something from the perspectives that the students have in what they present. We do want to see increased commercialization and increased success of those who participate in the program. So trying to see where those people go. Maybe they do continue the business that they're presenting, or maybe they find a new path, or they're newly inspired to focus on energy from their business program, or they're newly inspired to focus on entrepreneurship from their engineering program. How do we see people going into this space and being impacted by their participation is one of the goals of this program. And really throughout this activity, we do want to support and improve energy technology education all across the US. So at hundreds of different institutions, how do we support that exploration, ideation, and creation of these ideas throughout this participation? This program is specifically designed so that everyone can compete and succeed. We want to see those ideas regardless of whether or not you're a leader in this space already, or if your institution is looking to grow in the energy industry, looking to grow in STEM fields or these different elements. We'll talk about this later, but the winners are chosen based on the strength of the business plan presented, not the resumes or the CVs of the presenters themselves. It really is about the work that you do in this program. We're also very much supported by 15 different regional conveners all across the US who help enable multiple pathways for teams to get to the national event. So we have a region focused on the non-contiguous United States. We have a region focused on the Southeast and the region focused on the Great Plains or the Mountain West, so that teams are able to present ideas to judges that understand their regional constraints, as well as see ideas of students and schools in their area that might be relevant to them as they continue to move forward. We continue to prioritize our outreach to many people, not those that we just already have relationships with, but those who might be looking to explore these topics moving forward. We do invite those who are new to this space to compete in this program, whether as a student team or as a faculty team. Those new ideas are welcome, and those ideas are evaluated for success and how we identify our winners. You'll hear about this later, but for all our participation, we don't ask for you to travel before you've received some prize money. So all of our Explore events are either paper submissions or virtual, so that anyone can compete from wherever they happen to be, and that we don't require that you already own your IP or control that IP. This is about the plan of what might be possible. It's not really about the startup itself of those activities. Though owning your IP and having an existing startup is of course more than welcome in this program. So throughout this, we do want this to be a low barrier to entry, a way to build that ecosystem for those who want to be able to participate in the program. For faculty, the date you'll hear first is for January 5th. That's for those who want to be considered as one of our 10 faculty explorers and be eligible to win a $4,000 prize. It's a brief entry about yourselves, your interests, and your institution. And then any faculty, in those who were selected as faculty explorers and anyone else who either finds out about the program later, weren't selected, or didn't meet that deadline, are eligible to submit an implementation plan for a share of $60,000 in funding. We'll talk more about those details throughout this presentation. For the faculty, no travel and no live presentations are required, so this can be tailored to fit your busy schedules. For students, and we'll talk more about the student program at the end of this presentation, students can register with just a 200-word summary by February 1st, 2024. They have about 3.5 weeks to prepare a pitch. They present virtually to judges. They get feedback, they get experience, they get to see other ideas, and then we select finalists based on that presentation. Those who are identified as finalists get additional resources and opportunity to compete for more prizes, but that first activity, all they have to do is submit a 200-word summary by February 1st. So if you're spreading the word, you can do so now, or you could begin on January 5th or January 10th when students return from winter break. It's really up to you for how we can engage students to engage and explore ideas in this program. And so I will remind everyone that faculty and students from any institution anywhere in the United States are welcome and encouraged to compete. We've had teams compete successfully from Guam, from American Samoa, from across the United States, from I think we're at 48 states, 3 territories, and DC. We're hoping to get those last 2 states that may not have been represented yet in our first 2 years this year, but really want to encourage that any school with any background, whether it's community college, those in STEM, those not in STEM, those that are research institutions or not, are welcome and encouraged to compete in this program. This program is supported and sponsored primarily by the Office of Technology Transitions at the U.S. Department of Energy. This office is focused on expanding the public impact of the department's research, development, demonstration, and deployment portfolio at the national labs, and has a number of different programs that are available. So you're welcome to explore these different funding opportunities, but we thank the Office of Technology Transitions for their support in this participation. I'm now going to transition to a very brief video from some student competitors of the past speaking about their participation, and then we'll be joined by an alumni from last year who will share some of her thoughts. Let's see if this slide plays correctly.
EnergyTech as a competition is really special.
I can't recommend competing enough.
After the competition, I was approached by multiple investors, and I also was able to secure multiple PhD positions.
This competition was really the catalyst behind kind of spurring us forward towards an actionable startup.
For this competition, I actually used my own innovative idea and product that I had been creating in a research lab.
EnergyTech really gives you the opportunity to be evaluated on just the quality of the idea that you're pitching for your business plan.
I would say the biggest thing is that the competition helped open up so many opportunities with networking, and also the prize money helped go towards gaining intellectual property.
We really didn't have a business plan at all. That was all created during this, and we got great help from our mentors.
It's so much fun, and really just once again, like, it is a once in a lifetime competition that comes with a very explicit goal of educating students, but also like emphasizes the need for a realistic business plan.
They really helped us to kind of craft what we wanted to do and how we can kind of approach commercialization.
Awesome educational experience. Like, I learned so much about the market of, so I actually had no intention of ever really being in the quote unquote tech startup space. But this experience was really so eye-opening and rewarding that I actually ended up working at a battery recycling startup that I learned about over the course of my research for this product.
If you were able to have the same opportunity, then I would definitely highly encourage you to participate.
EnergyTech as a company.
All right, so hopefully that's inspiring. Those were from our students in our first year. We have similar feedback for our second year, and happy to introduce Carolyn from the University of Virginia, who was one of our winning team members, team captain, something like that, from last year. So Carolyn, thanks so much for joining today.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. And hello, everybody. My name is Caroline Morin. I am a current graduate student in chemical engineering at the University of Virginia, and our team was fortunate enough to place second in last year's version of the EnergyTech University Prize. Company that we put together called Rely, focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries. And the biggest things to kind of reiterate some of the points in that video earlier are really around my personal incentives and why I think it's really valuable to participate in an organization in competition like this, as well as a few tips towards success. So to top it off, I think one of the previous alumni mentioned that in the video, but this is a really great opportunity to kind of force a timeline around producing a business strategy around your technology. So we were a group that was more that applied an existing Department of Energy technology. So it wasn't actually our own company, but by having these set deadlines to be able to make progress on the business plan, I know that there were other teams who were developing their own technologies that really benefited from that structure. On our end, it gave us the opportunity to learn about a new technology, to connect with people in the Department of Energy and build our network. there's also, as any competition or professional development opportunity, there's a lot of networking with members of the DOE staff, investors, other founders, students from other universities as you continue on throughout the competition. And one of the things that I found particularly valuable was just meeting people in the energy startup space, which in some ways feels less obtainable than other tech startup communities, particularly given the incredible amount of VC necessary to sometimes get some of these companies off the ground. And so it was really a great opportunity to see some other companies kind of in that energy space. It also gives you the opportunity to work with a multidisciplinary team. Our team was composed of 2 PhD chemical engineering students and 2 MBA candidates. And so it gave us the opportunity to brainstorm with other graduate students who have a very different set of expertise and goals when it came to the competition. So, if you're not already itching to just join right away, just some quick comments on maybe how to succeed. The biggest thing is at this stage is probably picking a topic. And so if you have your own company, great, that's going to be, the natural fit. But if you're also searching through some of the existing technologies at the DOE, I would recommend definitely choosing something that you're passionate about. You will have to spend quite a bit of time developing these deliverables and conveying your enthusiasm. So that's a natural starting point, but also some personal insight, even if it is a new topic to you, it's not technology you developed, having, some relevant expertise will definitely be helpful in being able to understand the literature, understand the most critical technological challenges associated with the products. And in some ways be more meaningful, because if you are already in a certain field, I work in some research with critical material recovery. It's not exactly battery recycling, but there's definitely still association. And then another big thing in terms of success would definitely be to follow the guidelines to a T. The judges will be evaluating you based on the rubrics that are in all of these instruction manuals. The team spend lots of time putting them all together for a reason, and I highly recommend being thorough in your review. And lastly, in terms of developing the business strategy, I think the biggest thing here is understanding the most critical and well-discussed challenges associated with your industry or product, and then coming up with the unique solutions around those most critical challenges. They don't have to be, at the end of the day, they don't have to necessarily work, but showing your understanding of that challenge and how you've been able to search for a solution is what this competition, something like this competition is for, is that iterative process and some of our greatest energy challenges. So that's my quick spiel. I'm going to post my LinkedIn link in the chat. So if anyone has any other questions, especially as you get closer on in the competition, you're welcome to reach out. But thank you so much. I'm passing it back to you, Joe.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for those perspectives and for your participation. So for today, for our presentation, I'm going to focus primarily about our new faculty track and hopefully be available to answer any questions that you might have. But for those who are on, who may be students or those who might be interested in presenting this program as an opportunity for your students, do know that we will also cover the basics of the student track towards the end of this hour. So thank you to all who happen to be on this call, no matter your area of interest. So for this new year, we're excited to add a track with $100,000 in cash prizes supporting faculty who are seeking to increase the development and implementation of educational activities that engage in an increasing number of students on technology, commercialization, entrepreneurship at their institution. So this is a lot of words, but what we're really trying to do is to say, how can we incentivize, support, and compile some perspectives around creative ideas for bringing these topics to accredited programs with ABET, or for bringing energy to a business school, or for bringing different collaborations across departments, silos, or interests. And this is designed in a similar way as our student program, but there's a number of different ways that someone can choose to participate. For our faculty, there's 2 different stages where you can join, and you can join at either stage. One is not a prerequisite of the other. For our Explore stage, those are for those who are interested. Maybe this is a newer portion of interest at their institution, or it's newer to them in their career. And this is where you're able to submit your interests, your ideas, your constraints, and what the impact might be. And we're going to choose 10 faculty explorers who we hope that that $4,000 prize, so $4,000 to each of those 10 faculty explorers, can help support them as they work to develop an implementation plan. Then throughout the rest of the program of this activity, we have and continued outreach to any faculty. So these could be those faculty explorers, or it could be others who either learn about the program later, weren't selected, or missed that deadline, to submit some type of vision for what might be possible at their institution that could grow these topics. And we're very open about those constraints, what you might do. Maybe it's a new course, maybe it's a new lecture series, maybe it's something completely different. And we hope that those ideas that are submitted both encourage you to meet that timeline, to meet with others at your institution, to get buy-in from your leadership and to submit those ideas, but also that we can leverage some of those ideas to create something like a toolkit or something like a summary of lessons learned from others that could inspire the greater industry to continue to grow in this space. So in total, the faculty have 2 opportunities to submit an entry and be considered for these prizes. And these prizes are provided as prizes for work already done, not work to be done in the future. So there's no future reporting requirements, submissions, or activities. What you submit for each of these deadlines is the entire package that we expect. And then we award prize money associated with the work that you've already done in this program. So some ideas that were generated by us as program administrators, but are not limiting to what might be possible, could be something like the integration of key educational modules into an existing course or program. Maybe you're able to pursue the development of a new course or program. Maybe you want to expand, grow, or create an accelerator or incubator activity. Perhaps there's a way to create some creative co-teaching situations from different disciplines, bridging that gap between business and engineering or similar. Maybe there's ways to think more creatively about distance learning modules or things that haven't been a priority otherwise. We can see those who want to think about new student-centered materials that actively engage learners, or the development of new content presentation materials that others would be able to use. We are open to your ideas of what might be possible and how you think these topics could grow in an impactful way in your own institution. As mentioned in our timeline summary, we're excited to be able to provide up to 10 faculty or faculty teams who submit by January 5th at $4,000 when they're identified as faculty explorers. That $4,000 is associated with the content that you submit by January 5th, and we hope that it provides inspiration to continue on to the next phase of that activity, but that continuation is not required. Similarly, those who aren't selected or don't meet that deadline to be considered as faculty explorers are welcome to still compete in the implementation phase of this program. To explain a bit more what we're looking for in each one of these phases, I'll walk through the excerpts of the rules. I would remind you that to understand all the details, as Carolyn mentioned, I do encourage you to read the rules in full. They're about 30 pages in total, and they're available at herox.com/EnergyTech UP. And these explain exactly how you'll be judged, how you'll win, and how the eligibility criteria. So this is a summary that I'm providing in this presentation, but know that you can see all of that information on our rules document. So for the faculty explore phase, there's not a huge submission requirement. We want to see a project title and short summary, a single slide of what you think might be impactful at your institution, and then a 3-page written document addressing some suggested content that summarizes topics like, why are you applying? How do you see this fitting within your existing program? What are the foreseen challenges associated with doing so? And what level of commitment do you or do you not have? That level of commitment is not a barrier to how well you'll do, but rather thinking about what opportunities you might have for success. And then we do ask for that completed entry form, which is some contact information, other elements, and then a resume for that faculty member. Within that explore phase submission, we will provide some templates for that slide as well as the 3-page narrative. But generally, those questions and evaluation statements that we look at are things like, why are you applying to this program, and why do you believe that your proposed educational activities will benefit students at your home institution? How do you see your proposed activities fitting into and complementing current programs and student pathways? What are the foreseen challenges of implementing your activities into existing programs and student pathways? And then describe the level of commitment that you may have. The evaluation statement. So this is where the Department of Energy Office of Technology Transitions would evaluate whether or not they should be identified as a faculty explorer. So this is one of those 10 $4,000 prizes. Did the faculty clearly articulate a credible interest, identify an unmet opportunity, and provide convincing understanding of the likely benefit? A vision for the role their plan could play in an equitable energy transition was evident. The faculty articulated a clear understanding of the current structure as well as constraints. The faculty did not shy away from citing realistic challenges, and the faculty secured and provided some evidence of support for doing these type of activities. So again, this does not require that you're already doing these things. It could be that an expansion, it could be something brand new to what you're doing. At the explore phase, this is really about your interest, your passion, your understanding of the constraints, and your idea of what might be possible in the future. You don't have to have all the details of how you would actually implement this plan. This is really what might be possible and what do you think might have impact in your institution or on the community as a whole. And so from that content, we will select those 10 $4,000 winners. However, recognize that any faculty, so anyone in total, whether they are or are not selected as a faculty explorer, are welcome to submit to the faculty implementation phase. This is a bit more detail, and this is really about an implementation plan. Again, you don't already have to have done this work. We're not expecting work to have been completed by spring of 2024, but rather we're seeking some ideas of what might be possible and how you might achieve success in the future. So this is where we're asking for an implementation plan up to 10 pages addressing some content, which I'll talk about in a moment, any letter or letters of support from your leadership, a resume or CV, and your completed entry form. For all of our faculty, this is really meant to be something that can be complementary to the work that you're already doing and hopefully can benefit your participation and your own academic careers. Alongside the prize money that we provide, another benefit that is expected is that the Department of Energy leadership from the Office of Technology Transitions will also write a letter acknowledging your participation, success, and selection in this program that hopefully can be supportive to you at your institution and your leadership. Within the implementation plan, so that 10-page document, we're asking for things like the analysis of need. What are the current demographics? What are the existing relevant activities? What is the scope of your student body? And did you really convey an understanding of the academic landscape within and across your institution that demonstrates the need and interest in this commercialization and entrepreneurship topic? Second is that actionability. What are the proposed activities? What resources do you need to implement that? And how could Department of Energy tools complement what you might be doing? And so the evaluation statement associated with that is the response provided high quality and complete content. The materials clearly and meaningful incorporate some of these DOE activities and otherwise is seen as an actionable solution that might be possible in the coming months or years. And then support. What hurdles need to be cleared? What support has been established for your proposal as presented? So this is where you can provide that suggested content and the evaluation judges will identify whether or not you've provided clarity on the hurdles that might need to be overcome and that you have some support for trying to do this in the future. And then we have the potential impact. How is success defined? How will success be measured? How will students benefit from this proposal should it succeed? And could other institutions leverage what you have developed? The proposed plan clearly addresses the learning opportunities. It provided high quality and complete content that is likely to be incorporated and valuable for your own institution, and additional degrees of success could be deemed likely through broader impacts. For the overall implementation, what is the timeline and rough stages? How will it be implemented? What resources do you need? Do you have them? If not, what is your plan for obtaining them? And how can Department of Energy best support your success in future years? And so the evaluation statement associated with that is whether or not there's sufficient information to enable successful implementation in the future. By providing this implementation plan and some of this content, the judges hope to be able to support your success, incentivize some progress towards these topics, and provide funding that helps these succeed in the future. We do encourage entries to this activity to think about some of the Office of Technology Transition adoption readiness levels. This is a newly created framework to derive technology commercialization, which complements things like TRLs and other activities. It really looks at the adoption risks of technology and translates that into a readiness score. So whether or not these or other resources from the Office of Technology Transitions are impactful towards your plan, your teaching, or your outreach, we do encourage you to look at those and leverage some of the training and resources that will be provided to all of our competitors. So a reminder that our winners are determined based on the analysis of need, actionability, support, potential impact, and overall implementation plan. You do not already have to have done this work. So this isn't trying to say who's doing the best job now, but rather how is the quality of your plan and your plan for the future likely to be evaluated so that we can provide that prize and hopefully incentivize some changes in the coming months and years. For all of our faculty, the prizes are divided as follows. First place will receive $25,000, second place will receive $15,000, third place will receive $10,000, and then 5 runner-ups who submit that implementation plan will receive $2,000 each. In addition, we'll identify up to 10 of those $4,000 Faculty Explorer prizes. As mentioned previously, we also will have Department of Energy provide a letter to each winner's institution announcing the prize award and recognizing those faculty. These are prizes, and the way that this generally works is that prize is provided for the work already done. It is not a grant. It doesn't require future reporting, expectations, or submissions. We're providing that prize for what you've already submitted. And hopefully that's a lighter lift way for you to receive some financial compensation for all of your participation in this program. Throughout this, both our faculty and student competitors will receive resources, mentorship, and support to help them succeed before, during, and beyond the competition. We'll talk more about what some of those are and continue to release more in January, February, March, and April of 2024. So we do expect for the students to be able to highlight some of those energy technologies with business potential. We'll provide free access to recorded Energy I-Core educational materials for both students and faculty who register, as well as some training associated with that adoption readiness level framework that I recently talked about. We'll provide connections and mentorship from Department of Energy, industry, and other lab staff. We will share links to example presentations from the last competition. Recognize that because we have not had the faculty track in prior years, I don't have any examples from the faculty submission activities, but for those students who are listening or those faculty who want to learn from those student presentations, we will make all of those available and we'll continue to try to provide as many as possible industry connections. Those can be from all of our regional Explore events when students are presenting to judges and each other. Those can be from our networking sessions. Those can be from our connections, websites, and other activities, as well as all of our regional conveners to help to host all of these different programs. So to collectively, combined with those cash prizes, we think that there's benefits for everyone who chooses to participate, whether or not they end up winning any of those cash prizes at the end of the day. So if you are interested as a faculty in this faculty competition or this faculty track, we do encourage you to complete our interest form, and I believe Jackie will put a link in the chat right now to be connected with resources and additional details. And then if you're already ready to compete, you can go to herox.com/EnergyTechUp, click on Solve This Challenge, follow the process to complete a HeroX account, and then click on the Faculty Explore Phase entry to look at the components that are required. You can also continue to recruit other faculty to your team or promote the program to students who could participate in the student track. With that, I'm going to spend a little bit of time on our student track details. We'll provide a summary of our last event, and then we'll have about 15 minutes remaining for questions in this program. So for our student track, for anyone who's listening and available on this student track is really about enabling competitors to explore business opportunities. We will have about 200 teams able to present live to judges on February 27th, 28th, or 29th, and be able to get feedback from judges and be eligible to be identified as a finalist. Those about 28 finalists will then be invited to the refine phase where they'll be able to revise their solutions, and then 28 finalists will pitch their viable business plan to industry judges at the Energy Thought Summit in Austin, Texas on April 15th. So for students, the deadline is that they have to have a 200-word technology to be leveraged and a business opportunity submitted by February 1st. They'll have about 4 weeks to refine their idea, and then they'll present those ideas as part of a virtual event on either February 27th, 28th, or 29th, depending on what region they're in. We're excited to be having over $500,000 of prizes available to our students and excited to divide those across a number of different areas. As mentioned, by having these 15 different regional Explore events, we're able to encourage and enable up to 225 different teams to present live, hear each other's presentations, get that experience, get feedback from industry judges, connect with those who might see those presentations, and really gain from their experience in a light lift, earlier way. So this is very much intended to be an early stage program before someone participates in something like Energy I-Core, before someone participates in something like a startup or business competition where you're evaluating the strength of the team as well as the strength of the idea. This is meant to be exploration, early and exciting, where anyone can present those ideas, get feedback, and understand if they should refine, revise, or resubmit in a different type of way. So for 2024, we will have 15 different regions and expect to select 12 to 15 teams per region, and we will have 3 to 5 industry judges per region. Those Explore events will depend on where you are in the country, but you'll have an opportunity to watch other teams present, get feedback from judges, and find out if you are a finalist that same very day. So the East will occur in 1 to 5 p.m. on Eastern Time on February 27th. Central will be February 28th from 1 to 5 p.m. Central Time, and West will be February 29th from 1 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Recognize that we will assign teams to a region after we see all of the registration applications that we receive on February 1st. In this program, all energy technologies are welcome. Teams can present business plans that leverage things like nuclear technology, energy efficiency, geothermal, solar, water, or anything else that might be of interest as it relates to energy in the United States. As mentioned previously, IP ownership or license is not required. If you want to, you can present a business plan for technology you or your team members have developed. You could also work with your university's tech transfer office, your faculty advisors, or others to present a business plan for technology that is owned by others at your institution. There's no IP transfer, there's no license, there's no ownership transfer as part of this program. This really is about that business plan, helping to explore what might be possible, what might be that go-to-market strategy, what funding might be required to bring that technology to an actionable business plan. You can also find technology developed by the national labs of the US Department of Energy and leverage one of those in the presentation that you give. We encourage you to explore the lab partnering service at energytechup.labpartnering.org to see about 2,000 technologies that are theoretically available for license from national labs. You could present a business plan on any one of those technologies. You could also present a solution for emerging technologies of interest to you and your team. So I mentioned this just now, but that lab partnering service has nearly 2,000 technologies available for license. And we've worked with all 17 national labs across the Department of Energy complex to identify about 100 that are up for consideration or they think are ripe for commercialization at this time. You're not restricted to those 100 energy technologies, but if you're looking to explore any of these areas, you're welcome to go say, I want to look at solar technologies. I want to go look at battery recycling technologies, as our previous competitor mentioned. I want to look at wind technology or energy efficiency technologies and see if there might be something that you would be passionate developing a business plan around. I will remind everyone that this is not a startup competition. You don't need to have or own the IP that is presented as part of your plan, and your business does not already have to be formed. We are evaluating the business plan, not whether or not you are the right team of people to operate that business. The winners are determined based on the strength of the plan presented. So what is the go-to-market strategy? What are your evaluation of competitors? What might pricing look like? What can you look at some of these different elements? And so it's not as much about the specificity of which is the best technology, as much as it is what is the strength of the plan. So recognize as you think about your presentations, you're not trying to convince the judges this is the best technology ever invented. You're trying to say, assuming this technology works the way that we are saying it does, this is how it makes a good business. This is how it really fits that strategy for those different elements. And so make sure you do read those rules. They indicate topics of interest, what you'll do, and how winners are chosen. In this program, reminder that up to 28 different teams can win a share of that $450,000 in student prizes. And prizes are awarded for your work in this competition. There's no reporting requirements, IP, or ownership transfer, and those bonus prizes really relate to a number of different technology areas. I'm excited to be able to say that the prizes don't all go to one top competitor. They really do go to many different teams who come from many different areas. So as we mentioned, we'll have 15 different regions, and we'll identify a regional finalist from each one of those events. So that's $3,000 each at $45,000 in total. In addition, we have 13 different bonus prizes available, and each one of those bonus prizes will identify a finalist who will be invited to compete at the national event. So in total, there's 28 teams who will receive $3,000 and be invited to compete at the national stage. Within that, then all the teams are eligible for any of these different prizes at the national stage. Any of those 28 teams could be identified as a first, second, or third place winner. Any of those teams could be identified as a technology bonus prize winner if they have an eligible technology. And then we also have two technology agnostic bonus prizes, one associated with teams who leverage a national lab technology available from the lab partnering service, and one available to a team made up of only undergraduate students looking to grow that participation in the coming years. So for our student participation, teams are composed of 2 or more students with no maximum on the number of students that are allowed. They can be any level of participation. In prior years, we've had about 50% participation from undergraduate or community college students, about 25 to 30% participation from graduate level students, and about 20% participation from PhD level students. You do have to be an active student to participate in the student track. Make sure that you submit by February 1st with your ideas, and recognize that business plans that have not previously received notable funding may receive preference by the prize administrator. So if you've previously received several $1,000,000 in funding for your idea, you may be less likely to be chosen, though it's not an eligibility criteria per se. It's just a consideration the Department of Energy makes when selecting their teams in this program. So we encourage those who are earlier in the stage to be able to succeed in this program. As mentioned in these bonus prizes, recognize that while any energy technology is eligible to compete in this program, we have many different bonus prizes who are providing $25,000 in funding each, with $3,000 going to the finalists and the $22,000 going to the winners. So these come from Building Technology Office, Geothermal, Hydrogen Fuel, Office of Electricity for grid enhancing technologies, large power transformers, long duration energy storage. And then we also have carbon dioxide removal technologies from FECM. We have interest in smart retrofit manufacturing from the Office of Manufacturing and Energy Supply Chains. We have interest from the Office of Nuclear Energy, the Solar Power Office, as well as Water Power Technologies Office. And then those 2 other technology agnostic bonus prizes that we talked about, one for teams made up of only undergraduate students, and one for teams that leverage that national lab IP. It may be possible for a team to win both a first, second, or third place prize, as well as 1 or more bonus prizes, or it could be that every team is different that chooses these different areas. So the amount you can win is not limited in any particular way. You could win 1 or more different prizes, depending on what your technology is focused on and where you found that technology and the makeup of your team. So with that, I'll turn things over briefly to talk a bit about highlights from 2023 with my colleague, Hannah. Hannah?
Hi, everyone. My name is Hannah Pauling. I'm one of the other prize administrators on the NREL team. I'm just going to very briefly highlight some of the awesome things that came out of previous rounds of the competition. In 2023, we had 635 students participate. We had 184 teams across 124 collegiate institutions. Like Joe mentioned earlier, we were able to have students from 44 states plus DC and 2 US territories. 17 regional conveners hosted 15 regional Explore events, and 23 different teams were awarded a cumulative $345,000 in prizes. After each round of the competition, we collect feedback from our student competitors, both to see what worked well and how we can improve the competition. You saw some testimonials earlier in the webinar, and these are just some additional quotes we pulled from our feedback surveys. As you can see, we've received really great feedback on learning how to frame research for a successful business plan, being able to learn from other teams, and the low barrier to entry. In 2023, 84% of respondents reported increased interest in an energy career, and 90% reported increased knowledge of skills required for technology commercialization. These numbers did increase from our first competition in 2022, and we, of course, hope to continue seeing these numbers go up. Next slide. We were able to follow up with several of the students who participated in the first year of EnergyTech UP back in 2022 to see where they are now. And we were really excited to see that many students were able to find jobs, secure IP, or get additional funding. Many students were also able to form a new business, or they were accepted into fellowships, commercialization programs, or higher education programs. Next slide.
Great.
Thanks.
Thanks so much, Hannah. I'll turn things next to my colleague, Danny, to summarize a bit of our student explore and pitch event.
Hello, everyone. Danny Zimny-Schmidt. I work on the prize administration team here at NREL as well. I just want to speak briefly about the opportunity this competition provides to pitch your ideas to a group of investors, accelerators who are going to be in the audience at the Energy Thought Summit, as well as on some of these calls. So as you can see on this screen, it's a collection of all of the folks we had present over the previous couple years of this competition. We can move to the next slide. And so, as I mentioned, the national pitch event will be open to all those who win their regional event, as well as qualify via the bonus prizes that are specific to different technology offices. And at this national pitch event, all of these teams will have a chance to pitch to the audience at the conference, directly to angel investors, as well as to our DOE judges. And I just want to point out that even though there will be, a lot of friendly competition from other teams, beyond the pitch itself, this program allows you to connect with potential investors and accelerators who are also going to be in attendance here that may take an interest in your idea and in your team. So there's potentially more on the line than just the prize money we can award. We've had other teams tell us attending this event has helped connect them to future business partners and opportunities that way as well. In the interest of time, I'm going to end there and we can move on.
Thanks. I think we have maybe 2 or 3 more slides, and then we're happy to answer some questions in the remaining 10 minutes or so. Jackie.
Thanks, Joe. Really quickly, there's a number of ways that you can get involved or take some next steps. Joe, if you want to go to the next slide. The biggest pieces I would stress are completing the interest form. I'll resend that link in the chat to be connected to some of these resources. Also highly recommend making sure you're following EnergyTech UP 2024 on HeroX. As Joe mentioned, this is the platform we use most often to share updates. It's where you'll find the rules. It's where submissions get uploaded. So definitely make sure you're following us on HeroX for all future updates. I can't stress enough how important it is to read the rules. And I think that's also going to help you determine how you want to participate. Do you want to participate as a faculty advisor, as a faculty competitor, as a student, or do you just want to focus on recruiting students or faculty at your school to participate in this program if you feel like maybe you're not the best fit to participate? January 5th is when faculty are going to have to enter their submissions and students are due February 1st. The last thing I want to talk about is, again, going back to doing some recruitment or outreach efforts. Joe, if you want to go to the next page, I'll also drop a link in the chat, but we have a number of resources you can use that are already created to share this to other students at your school or faculty members if you're looking for an advisor. This includes social posts, newsletter content, graphics, flyers, etc. I'll drop a link in the chat for a couple of these resources. So yeah, those are some next steps you can take to start getting involved.
Great. Thanks so much, Jackie. Again, if anyone has any questions, you can always contact us, ott.energytechup@nrel.gov. and look forward to seeing your submissions in early 2024. With that, Jackie, if you could help facilitate, I see many questions in the Q&A box, and I will try to answer as many as I can within the 10 minutes that we have remaining.
Yes, absolutely. One question that we got is, are postdocs eligible for this program?
Unfortunately, for this program, we're primarily focused on actively enrolled students pursuing a degree and those faculty who are employed by their institution. So you may be part of a team where only students can present to those judges, and you could have postdocs as part of that team who might be advising or indicating, and you have some agreement with how you might divide eventual prizes that may be won, but ultimately only those actively enrolled students pursuing a degree can present to judges. And then we do want faculty who are employed either full-time or part-time by their institution for that faculty track. So where you're employed as a postdoc may or may not determine your eligibility for that faculty track, but it should be covered in the rules.
Great. What are the recommended ways for participants, either faculty or students, to network with other teammates or find a mentor at their school?
Sure. So at your school, it's really up to you to find those relevant contacts. We're doing outreach as best as we can, but then as we get closer to the February 1st deadline, we will also provide introductions to one of our 15 different regional conveners, which are often organizations focused on making connections across their own area. So if it's the Florida High Tech Corridor, they may know others that are interested in this topic, and you're welcome to contact them directly, and they're supported by us at the Department of Energy to be responsive to your questions and concerns. That being said, we'll also have some opportunity at some of the upcoming webinars in January where you're able to connect with these topics and present your ideas to others.
And Joe, I also will just add that another outlet for that is the HeroX forum. I'm going to drop a link to that in the chat as well. I will note that anything you post there is public, but that's a great resource for if you're like looking for teammates or a mentor in specific areas, you could post there. Okay, next question. Is there a team limit size for the student track?
There is not an official limit for any team sizes. It can be as large as you'd like, although recognize that there may be a practical limit. If the team gets too large, assigning responsibility or determining who's able to present within the limited time that's available may become onerous. So it's up to you to manage that size of the team, but there's not a technical limit for that participation.
Great. Question says, does OTT have programs and support for faculty that are embarking on commercialization venture with a company of an energy storage technology?
It's a great question. OTT has many different funding opportunities that are either open to application or those that connect in these different research areas. So outside of this program, if you send us an email to ott.energytechup@nrel.gov, we can point you to other funding programs that the Office of Technology Transitions runs. I'm speaking from the National Lab, so I can't speak directly to other funding opportunities from DOE.
Would faculty participants or competitors receive the prize award themselves, or does that go to their university? And is the award taxable?
Yep. So the award is definitely taxable. It is a payment from us to a institution, organization, or individual. We, in our rules, will say that we will write a single check to whoever the team captain designates. So that team captain, if you're a faculty, should look at your employment contract and see how that needs to be provided. If you tell us that we need to send it to your institution, we will do so. If you tell us to send it to you, we will do so as well. And then how that gets further distributed, divided, or paid taxes on is really up to you and your unique situation. So we pay a prize. We write a single check when you win it, and the team captain will tell us to whom to write that check.
Great. How do you define employed as faculty?
That is a great question. What we understand is that you have a relationship with that organization, with that institution for teaching at some scale of participation. So whether or not that is as a W-2 employee or through some type of other contracting mechanism, that's up to you. Our evaluation criteria is that you have that established relationship such that you can influence change at your institution. So if you're just an individual hoping to work somewhere else, we would not consider that. But if you have that relationship such that you can influence change at your institution, we're happy to have you as a participant.
Great. This question asks, can my students submit as a team while I submit as a faculty?
For sure. Yes, so faculty, you can submit something completely distinct from your students. And as faculty, recognize that your students could submit multiple different ideas. So if you are teaching a course and you have 15 students and you want each of them to break up into 5 teams of 3, and each one of those teams finds a technology on the lab partnering service, they could submit 5 different entries and then present at the regional events, and maybe one of them becomes a regional finalist, or multiple become a regional finalist and a technology bonus prize finalist. So we can have multiple entries from a single team, multiple entries from a single school for the student track. And because the faculty entry is a completely separate form, you as faculty could submit individually from that as well.
Great. We had a question that asked where we can find a list of the licensed DOE technologies. I'm going to drop a link to the lab partnering service in the chat.
Great. And just for those listening on audio in a recording, it's it's energytechup.labpartnering.org, and you should see those summary technologies there.
Yes. Does non-contiguous include Hawaii? And if yes, where will the events take place? Maybe just a reminder of the virtual regional events.
Yeah, so all of our regional events are virtual, so they will take place over Zoom, and we will have a breakout session focused on our non-contiguous partners. And so that will be hosted by some partners in Alaska who will be the sort of master of ceremonies and identified judges, but they also work with University of Hawaii, an elemental accelerator in Hawaii, for identifying those judges and partners. And then we look out for their participation. So that can be schools from US, from Puerto Rico, from Alaska, Hawaii, Puerto Rico, Guam, Marianas Islands, and similar. And we've had some great interest in those non-contiguous participation in the past, but those events will take place virtually. And I apologize for those who may be far away from the contiguous US that you might be presenting late at night or early in the morning, but they will be virtual.
Great. To learn more and prepare for the competition, can you recommend any individuals to reach out to, such as previous winners like Caroline, judges, investors, industry professionals, etc.?
Great place to start is EnergyTech Up, ott.energytechup@nrel.gov, and we'll try to point you in the right direction. So if you let us know who you are and where you're from, we might connect you with a regional convener, a past competitor from your institution, or something similar. So we can help point you in the most effective direction.
Great. If you have students who are beginners in research, does it put you at a disadvantage to have a simpler product as your project focus?
I don't think so. We've had some finalists and technology bonus prize winners in the past that were really looking at how they convey heat pump technologies to a broader audience. So it was more of a consulting business and how they would present that growing technology without being technical experts themselves. It really is about a business plan for an emerging energy technology. Another team focused on agrivoltaics, but didn't have a unique underlying patent or technology to that activity, but really focused more on what the business model would look like for those efforts.
I think we have time for just one more question. Can multiple faculty awards go to the same university for different applications?
Yes, we have not said that it can only be a unique institution. So we could have more than one entry per institution. I'm 95% sure, but we should double check our rules as well. So almost certain of that, but I'm also slightly doubting myself. So make sure you read our rules and we'll indicate that very clearly.
All right, Joe, did you want me to do one more question, or we?
Let's do one more. It hasn't turned 3 o'clock yet. or 5 o'clock.
Okay.
So
Does oh, this is a good one. Has DOE sent out any confirmation that we submitted our interest form? This person said they completed the form but didn't receive any responses. So just looking for answer there.
I don't think we have a response verification turned on for our interest form, but we're happy to do so. So we will check and we'll contact those who have already submitted, and we'll adjust our settings on that form so that you do know it's been received.
Great. All right,
All
I
right,
think we're
well,
at time.
We're at time, and thank you for everyone who joined today. We look forward to answering your questions. We will have another informational webinar on December 5th. We'll have some drop-in sessions with administrators early in January, and that we will have a final informational webinar for the student track later in January as well. So really looking forward to your participation. Please do spread the word and ask any questions that you have of ott.energytechup@nrel.gov. Thanks, everyone.